Yes, I'm in a dilemma. What do I do? Let's make a deal. So you have justification and I become a hero.
One day, after finishing night duty at Cheongsong prison, when it came time to get off work, I changed into civilian clothes, having completed all inspection items and handed them over to the next shift worker and received my day off. I had finally become a free person who could legally rest for a full 24 hours. Just as I reached the main gate, suddenly from behind, wheeing, the siren blared loudly. Since the prison grounds are so vast, all emergency situations are also communicated via siren. If it rings wang continuously and shortly, it's a fire accident. If it rings weeing long, it's an escape accident. If it breaks off briefly, weeing, it's a riot accident. There are rules set like this for each type of incident. But the sound coming through was for a riot. Oh my, the next shift workers are going to suffer quite a bit. If that incident had happened just 20 minutes earlier, I would have had to handle it. But I'm incredibly lucky today. Thinking this, I was about to exit the door when suddenly there was an inner voice that struck my heart.
Still, you should go see.
However, another part of my heart immediately rebelled. Go where? Being such a busybody. My shift is already over. Like that, the two hearts fiercely opposed each other, albeit for a brief moment. But when I realized that going back to look was a heart given by the Holy Spirit and just going home was the heart of the flesh, although it was a step I wasn't keen on taking, I hurriedly turned around and ran to the scene. Sure enough, at the corner of the kitchen, one inmate was causing a riot. The Cheongsong prison cafeteria is quite spacious, as it's a place that cooks food for 2,000 to 3,000 inmates and hundreds of correctional officers. In the far corner opposite the entrance, the rioting inmate had stripped off his clothes naked, wearing only underwear, holding kitchen knives in both hands, having already self-harmed his neck and wrists and bleeding profusely. With one knife held to his own neck and one held forward, he was screaming so that no one could approach.
If anyone comes close, I'll either stab them, or else I'll stab my own neck and die.
Like this, most inmates living such dead-end lives have given up loving even themselves at the very edge of despair, feeling abandoned by society and family. So once they say they'll do something, they do anything, making it very dangerous to provoke them recklessly. So dozens of correctional officers were just hesitating about 30 meters away from him, not knowing what to do. He was Myung-ho, managed as a person of interest in the prison. Not only was his personality violent, but he was also twisted and crooked, having no one he got along with closely among either inmates or correctional officers. Always crouching alone like a poisoned feral cat. Small-minded, meticulous, and annoying, he was a notorious troublemaker. Looking at the situation briefly, there was no time. The amount of blood already spilled was considerable, and if we continued this standoff, he would soon reach a dangerous point from excessive blood loss. Reaching this conclusion, I walked toward him without time to weigh the situation.
Section Chief, you mustn't go! You'll be in great danger!
The staff desperately stopped me. I know, I'll handle it myself. As I approached closer, as expected, Myung-ho pressed the knife firmly to his own neck and threatened.
Don't come close. If you take one more step, I'll stab my own neck.
Myung-ho, let's resolve this with words. What's wrong with you? I stopped walking and stood there asking.
No need for words. Seeing you had the courage to come this far, you must have hidden a weapon on your body. But I'm not fooled. Don't come close.
I have no weapon. What weapon would I have when I'm in civilian clothes about to go home?
There's no way you'd come here without a weapon.
If it's proven I have no weapon on my body, will you talk with me? Hesitating, he agreed with a slightly yielding appearance. Fine. I clearly proved I had no weapon on my body. Since there was no other way, I also started stripping. Stripped one thing, stripped two things, and eventually I too stood facing him in my underwear. It was the first time in my life I'd become nearly nude in front of so many people, but the situation was urgent, so I had no choice. Look, there's nothing, right?
Then come only up to 2 meters in front.
I slowly moved my steps and tried to have a conversation while looking into his eyes. What the hell are you causing this riot for? Hemming and hawing, he answered that recently his mother had remarried without saying a word to him. Her only son, and unable to overcome his resentful heart, he had committed this act. Hey, you bastard. You're an unfilial son serving a prison sentence who should be matchmaking for your mother. What kind of behavior is this?
But still, I'm her only son, so at the very least she should have talked to me before remarrying, shouldn't she? I just want to die like this, so don't stop me.
I laughed out loud with a snickering sound that only Ma Young-ho could hear. He looked at me with puzzlement. Hey, that is the funniest lie that I've ever heard. If you were someone who wanted to die that badly, would you be holding a knife? You should have stabbed your neck hard and died already. So why are you only lightly slicing here and there and causing this riot? All right, I know. I understand your position too. You caused this self-harm riot because you got angry, but it's not being resolved. With blank eyes, he listened to my words. You have your face and pride in this prison too, but after causing such a riot, you can't just say, "Save me now," and if you just stay like this, you'll die from continued bleeding. This is called a dilemma in English. I see you're in a dilemma now. What will you do? Ma Young-ho also seemed very flustered after confirming anew the frustrating reality he was in. Taking advantage of the moment when his eyes slightly wavered, I proposed, "Since it's just you and me here, let's make a deal. I'll rush in and take the knife so you pretend you can't resist and let it be taken. Then won't you have justification and I become a hero? Isn't that a worthwhile business? If you agree with my words, blink your eyes once." After a while, he looked at me and blinked his eyes very cunningly. Now that we had mutually agreed, I felt relieved and at the appropriate moment rushed at him like lightning, grabbed both his hands and twisted them so the knives dropped to the floor. This guy acted like he was resisting roughly while exquisitely letting the knives be taken in a performance, and a perfect suppression was achieved without anyone noticing. Only then did the staff rush in en masse to stop Ma Young-ho's bleeding and hurriedly move him to the hospital. Amid thunderous applause piercing the sky, it was the moment a new hero was born.
Oh my, Section Chief. With your belly bulging out, how are you as swift as a hare?
I have internal energy built up, didn't you know? That incident was reported to the Ministry of Justice, and I unexpectedly even received a ministerial commendation.
Everyone, a correctional officer going full nude to save the life of one prisoner and jumping into a riot scene risking the danger of twin knives is a representation of all correctional officers and an example of sacrificing oneself for others.
At the award ceremony, the pouring praise was embarrassing and made me cringe. But since I couldn't explain it differently, the incident was concluded like that. Ma Young-ho also received blood transfusions at the hospital and stabilized before returning to the prison, and everything found its place. I thought the incident ended like that, but in fact, that was the beginning of something new. Ma Young-ho, the loner who until then hadn't exchanged a word with anyone, had changed. Knowing me as his greatest benefactor and opening his heart, he became my biggest fan. If any inmate happened to speak ill of me, they would instead get cursed out by Ma Young-ho by the bucketful.
What kind of person is he that you dare speak ill of him with no manners?
I met with him frequently and exchanged many various stories. When I too told him about my hardship-filled adolescent years that I hadn't told anyone, this guy also sobbed and poured out his story of living miserably. Through that opened heart, the gospel naturally entered. Ma Young-ho's fierce expression and gaze gradually softened, and watching him transform into someone who prayed with hands clasped like a person who believes in Jesus, the staff and fellow inmates watching had no choice but to acknowledge.
Seeing Ma Young-ho change, we cannot deny that God is alive.
I contacted his mother and told her that now Ma Young-ho believes in Jesus and has become a new person, so please come visit once.
I won't go. No matter that he's my child, I'm scared to see his face.
His mother refused, saying her son was too violent and she was afraid to meet him. And Ma Young-ho also at first didn't want to meet because of his sense of betrayal toward his mother. However, I persistently persuaded both people, and finally the meeting was achieved. Not in the visiting room with bars between them, but in a special visit permitted in my office. His mother came with her new husband and stood facing Myung-ho. How awkward and difficult it was for them to look at each other. The son looked only at the ground, and the mother looked at the sky, avoiding eye contact for a while. And then by chance, the moment their gazes collided, the love-hate suppressed for many years crumbled in an instant, and mother and son embraced each other and collapsed, beginning to wail. The new father cried too, and I cried along with them. That mother said she had already started attending church after hearing the news before coming to visit that her son had changed through the gospel. Since they met within the faith of believing in Jesus, it was even more moving. From that time on, Myung-ho's parents came running 2 or 3 times a month without minding that long distance and freshly built up affection with their son. The new father also poured interest and affection into Myung-ho, no less than a real father. He must have also been afraid of the new son who would someday be released. After that, Myung-ho lived exemplarily and was granted early parole. Before parting, I shared the words of 1 Peter 2, 9-10. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, who once were not a people, but are now the people of God, who had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. Myung-ho, both you and I lived in pitch-black darkness the same way. But after being led into God's world of light, haven't the past and present changed like this? Now when you go out, serve God diligently. After his release, Myung-ho settled in Donghae, Gangwon province. The good-natured new father entrusted him with managing a small dried seafood shop. And as a result of his efforts, without sleeping at night, he's now become the owner of a large shop with several employees. When I encounter him living as a respectable member of society with a wife he met at church and having birthed sons and daughters, my heart swells with God's love and power who doesn't give up on any person and transforms them. Often he sends packages piled high with dried filefish, pollock, squid, and other dried seafood. Each time I receive the delivery, I convey my thanks by phone. Myung-ho, you sent it again. Thank you. But hey, how is it that whether you're inside prison or outside, slicing is your job? In prison, you caused a riot, slicing your wrists and neck, and even after going out. Do you live constantly slicing open fish bellies?
Ha ha ha. I guess slicing must be my calling.
Now he is life's victor who proudly witnesses to the whole world God's love that tore through the pitch-black darkness and led him into the bright world of light.